Muchos amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends share an album with each other one at a time. A music album, not a photo album, but a music album. And we all give our thoughts on said album. It's like a little book club but for music. I'm Petey Rave. Here with me is my team, my triumvirate, my crew, my gang.
Power trio.
Yes, power trio. We've got David Majors, aka DJM.
Buenos tacos, muchachos.
Mm-hmm. And right there at the end, we've got Drew Snyder.
Hey, what's going on, folks?
Mm-hmm. We're here to talk about music. We're here to talk about an album, as we do every week. The provider of the album this week is Drew. It's Drew's turn. What have you brought forth for us? As I almost burp. What have you brought forth for us this fine episode?
So this was sent to me via the algorithm of the TikToks, as we've discussed before. Something probably because I was looking up too much stuff about a guy from Atlanta playing the flute recently.
Andre 3000. Just say Andre 3000.
Yeah.
He's a good flute player. But
Absolutely.
he, like, somehow this got put in front of me. It is an artist. She is known as Sol ChYld. Found her through that. I forget the name of this album. I just realized.
Something came to me.
Something came to me. That's it. I was like, it's something. But
this artist came to you on the algorithm train and on the TikTok train. Yeah,
it's been a few days.
Yes. David, what were your thoughts as you were approaching this album? What were your expectations coming into this?
I hate this question. But Drew said that Sol ChYld was a female hip artist. And I'm under the assumption that Drew isn't the biggest fan of Sexy Red. So I imagined that Sol ChYld would probably be on the other end of the hip hop spectrum. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I got.
Mm-hmm. I was aware of Sol ChYld because I too have been fed her work through TikTok in the algorithm, and I had been meaning to like sit down and listen to some, and I was probably I'm surprised I didn't have her on my doc that I have of my list of albums. I have my tier list of albums I have ready to bring to the show.
I have mine organized by pitches.
Mm-hmm. And I was surprised I didn't add that on there. But it was definitely something that I was going to be interested in talking about and interested in checking out. So I had some idea of what approach to music and what style of hip hop in broad terms we were going to get. But I was intrigued, and I'm looking forward to it. Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
So, like I said, it kind of got put at me, and it was just the right moment. Like, the music itself, there is a calming element to it. You have a lot right now in the zeitgeist of the, like, calming lo-fi hip-hop sort of general thing. But the thing that really struck me was the sort of mix of old school and new school production ideals. There is obviously throughout this entire thing a very neo soul era, like Lauryn Hill, Fugees era hip hop sort of throughout. It's got a great groove. It's got great horns. And it's something that just that feeling carries throughout the entire thing. And the attitude of the artist of Sol ChYld, I think, really comes through. there is, it's something that I've had discussions about recently with friends of mine and online and stuff like that, is this idea of, and we've said it before here, the idea of separating the art from the artist. And I think on hip hop specifically, it is such an open window a lot of times, especially in like this style, into the artist and into like what they're into, who they are, what they're about, what they choose to champion, be about, talk about. And the thing in this is it is very, there is a lot of sort of wearing her heart on her sleeve and a lot of introspection that also comes out, I think, which I think is really, really fun. I grew up listening to emo music, so anytime I find an artist that can very easily wear their heart on their sleeve, no matter the genre, and you can kind of get that like slice of who they are, I tend to gravitate to it by default.
David, how would you describe this album musically?
Um, I have used the phrase retro chic to describe albums in the past that have sort of a classic sound, but it doesn't sound dated or purposefully nostalgic. I'm not going to use that term here. I do think that Drew's description of it being very Lauryn Hill era is accurate. I think that Sol ChYld herself is really good at what she does. I know this is her debut album, and I get the impression that she's very, very young. So I am interested in what her next project will sound like in relation to this one, because it finds a space and it stays there, and it doesn't really deviate from that much. There's not a lot of dynamics. There are not very many producers in the hip hop sense on this album. There are some features here and there, but it's an album, if you want to call it that, because it's only 24 minutes. It is a very consistent album from front to back with its sound.
Yes. Yeah, it is very consistent. It's a tight album. It's a very consistent album. Like David said, it is very centered on like the neo soul musically, like 90s conscious rap, like a almost like little parts of it being like 90s Afrocentrism, like rap, and 90s conscious rap, and a little bit of Lauryn Hill here and there, musically in the beats. And then it's very East Coast, New York, New Jersey, New York, New Jersey flow, bar centric, like smart bars centric hip hop. It's a very much a style that
The places I went to when I was in the Air Force.
Yeah. The it's about the wordplay. It's about the emotion as well. It is bouncing from like themes of like personal themes of personal life, personal history, growing up. Also themes of like trying to make this dream come true. Trying to make this creative dream come true, things like that, and all intermingled in like just tight rhymes and clever wordplay and just smart hip hop delivery. It's very, there are some like only a couple parts there where it goes a little bit more high dynamic, but it's very like just chill. Um, these are, this is my tight 16. Boom, 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 boom. These are my three. These are my tight bars. These are there's a couple of features, but it's mostly her and her style and her, just kind of like it is very much a core of that is very much an approach of like just approaching this a little bit with something to prove. But and I think it works well. But it's definitely like that neo soul sound, conscious rap approach. Very personal, very open, open hearted approach to the rhymes and approach to the rap, and it's some of those sounds that like the style and sounds that I'm into, but and we'll talk about why I loved it like that, but yeah, that's how I would describe music. It's just good, soulful, well built, smart rhymes, with very precise hip hop, very precise flow. And and let's get into the tracks. Let's keep getting into these key moments. There's not a lot of them, but we'll zero in on a couple. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks that you would point out?
Well, something where the album starts has those smooth horns that automatically took me back to that like mid 90s feel, like we've been saying. The flow is fantastic and her singing is really smooth. It gives you a little bit of everything out the gate, which, stereotype me, that is what I look for in a first track. Like, tell me what I'm getting into, like, and put it out strong within the first track. Or if you're like leading in, like some bands do, the second track, whatever. But this is a good first track. NBC was the single and the one that caught my ear on TikTok. And it's a fun track. It's a very old school, like, hey, here's a song I wrote about how I write songs. Which feels very 90s rap to me, which I enjoy me some 90s rap. And then Ego Death. Also, if there was any clue into like the sort of bohemian hippie that she seems to sort of be in some regards, Ego Death to me points towards something very specific. I won't make any assumptions, but the track itself, the pianos just, I think, work really, really well on here.
David, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
The same ones as Drew. NBC was the single, and for good reason. I heard Lauryn Hill almost reincarnated on this one. It was the closest to the reincarnation of Lauryn Hill that I've ever heard. Also, Ego Death was just a vibe, and I enjoyed it. And there was one more track that I thought was pretty okay, and that was, I think, no, it was NBC. It was NBC. So yeah, NBC and Ego Death.
Yeah, I would say those are the highlights we can agree with. Like, so something starts off as a great introduction to the album. It has that like vibe that has Drew kind of detailed, and then it's the the and it gets followed up with Choice. That kind of is one of the only tracks that kind of like turns up the energy a little bit. And the beat kind of has this like very old school mid to high energy, kind of like confrontation, just like a little bit in your faceness, but not too much. It's still very close to where she is as like a vibe, you know, as an approach and as an energy level. Um, and yeah, NBC is the key single, and NBC is kind of like the breakout song. You can even see it in the comparing it on say Spotify, the play numbers. Um, and yeah, it has the highlights. I mean, highlight as people have pointed out, one of or I've seen. I'm pretty sure I've seen somebody point out specifically, and it might have been like one of the reasons that she got put in front of me, which is just to highlight one, like little connection bars is the John 16 Born 316. These 316s lethal injection is just a very like, you know what, there you go. It's just kind of like that works well. And if you really need to have that spelled out for you, go to genius.com. The that works. And then ego death is like it was said, like it's the pairing as well, the like um and I think everything that's been said already. So I'll just go to Miss Me as well. I think Miss Me is another really nice highlight because it has the cool thing like having two halves that have different slightly different energy. The first half is like very like longing, almost like kind of like as an artist hoping that you're making an impact and hoping you're being memorable and hoping that what you're doing leaves an impression, and that it's worth it. And then like there's a nice little skit where she, you know, doesn't somebody tries to call her up, pretending they know her, you know, act like they know her, and you know, she doesn't answer, and then you know they talk shit.
I forgot hip hop albums had skits.
Yeah. And then like she gets into this like just, you know, not angry but like, you know, defiant second half of the album. Like, yeah, no, this is I'm confident in what I'm doing. Yes, I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing, and yes, my music is making it happen. Yes, this is gonna work out. So, and I think that was a nice like thematically was a nice like track for the album. All right, and then now we get into our conclusions. Let's bring it back around the horn. David, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
My conclusion is that it's fine. As a debut album, it's fine. Because it came and went in 24 minutes, it's really hard for me to sit down and chew on this album, quote unquote. Sol ChYld is good at what she does. If she steps a little bit out of her comfort zone, I'm definitely interested. I'm definitely interested in what she can do with a few different producers and some different beats. And I would hope that she might be willing to branch out and challenge herself a little bit to do some different stuff like that. If Drew, 2 years from now, brings the next Sol ChYld project onto the podcast, I would not be mad about it because I thought this was fine.
Yeah, I think this is the sound and the style is definitely right down my wheelhouse. This is a really good first offering. It is short. That's the reality. I think that's just the reality of people kind of like sticking to shorter formats. But
Can't relate.
hopefully, yeah, me neither. But it is what it is. It is a tight album. It's well made as far as like from a creative standpoint. It shows a a lot of promise and a lot of potential for growth, and I'm looking forward to where Sol ChYld continues to expand and grow to, and I'm looking forward to it. Um, yeah. Drew. Last but not least, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I think all of that is super fair and kind of where I'm at. This album was something that hit me and was a lot of fun when I listened to it the first time, and the second time, and the third time, and then when I brought it here, and listening to it a couple of times again. Um, it is a record that feels very much like a record that was put together by an artist that wanted to have a full album, but also was sort of flying by the seat of their pants a little bit. As someone, like I've said before, who grew up listening to like a lot of small, like weird punk rock bands, having a bunch of songs that are like under 3 minutes long and sort of like made in a way that you knew they were like, okay, we only have enough money for a certain amount of studio time. We got to get this tight and we got to get it right and we got to get it out. It sort of feels like there's some of that same ethos and some of that same mentality here. And I can respect that. Now, if there's a little bit money, a little bit more money and a little bit more time and a little bit more space to grow, and she can make a 9 to 12 song record last more like 35, 45 minutes. I want to see what she can do with that space. But it's something that getting in on the ground floor and hearing this, it's one of those things where like, it's just something that I'm like, I feel like this girl has the potential to be huge. And it's going to be, okay, it's like Good Charlotte. Good Charlotte had the first record that was the self-titled that's like, oh, this is really fun. And then they have the second record that blew them up. What's going to be the second big record to like really blow her up? Because this is the first time where like she had a lot of time and she like really put it through. There was another record, but it was a little bit more fly-by-nighty. I feel like this one was the first like, okay, she's going to put a lot of muscle behind this to try to get it out there as much as possible so that the next one has some more backing. And I want to see what happens with that.
Yeah. I think we're all basically looking forward to that. I'm excited for that. But yeah, those are our thoughts on Sol ChYld. Something Came to Me. Be sure to check it out. It's on our Spotify playlists, both of them. Do your due diligence and your due diligence with Record Breakers, the home game, or Record Breakers, the playlist. One has our episodes slotted in as appropriately, and one is just the albums. On that Spotify playlist, well, will be next week's record, but I almost forgot to do Haiku Reviews again. God damn. My brain. My ADHD brain. But I'll talk about the next week's album after we do our main event of the evening, the moment we've all been waiting for, our Haiku Reviews. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Haiku numero uno. David, what is your haiku?
She's starting off well. A hip-hop sample platter. I'm not mad at it.
My haiku. Soulful flow of rhymes, delivered with precision, straight through your spirit. And Drew, what is your haiku?
New school lo-fi vibe, while knowing the neo root, glad it found my ear.
Yeah, those are our thoughts officially and completely of Sol ChYld's Something Came to Me, and you can of course find it on our Spotify playlists. Like I said, you can find them with our show notes at recordbreakers.fun or in the description on YouTube as well. On that Spotify playlist will be next week's record, and that's going to be provided by me. It's going to be an album that just was brought to my attention by the folks over at Asian Junkie, where I usually go for mainly K-pop news, but album reviews. But this is not K-pop. This is actually from Japan, and I think it's going to be. I don't want to presume, but I think it's probably something that might have been already on David's radar. But but I don't want to presume, as with the risk of making a priz out of you and me. We're going to talk about the Japanese all-female rock band by the name of Nemophila and their recent album Evolve. So look forward to that. But that'll be next week, and this is this week, and you can of course find us all over the internet. Recordbreakers.fun, Rebelli.net for the overarching website, Rebelli TV on YouTube and on Twitch. Watch the VODs on YouTube. Check us out live on Twitch. Look all over, check us out for this and our other shows, which we kind of have a nice schedule now, because we're coming soon. We're going to debut Through the Tomes, Hand of the Eight, our new little mini campaign, where we play Hand of the Eight, which I actually have.
We would have debuted it a little sooner, but I've been a little under the weather, getting over a cold. So
yeah,
it's been going around, folks. It's been going around. Midwest, Northeast, it's been going around.
Hand of the Eight, courtesy of DM Dave. So shout out DM Dave. And we're going to be actually going through this campaign in the world of Omeria. But look forward to that. And of course, our WWE 2K23 GM mode playthrough / millennial podcast / wrestling podcast.
Also, if I can shout out a little bit, a friend of mine who was on the show recently, our most recent guest, tattooed bearded gentleman Jason Kovac, recently quit his job to pursue creative dreams of videography and cinematography and photography and all of that good stuff. So Midwest Sad Boys, throw them boys a listen and follow that dude if you need. He is willing to travel most of the South and Midwest if you need work done. He will work
Godspeed, Jason.
So
Godspeed.
Maybe we'll have to collab, considering I'm about to graduate. Guess film school? You want to call it community college film school? But yeah, I'd say I like Miami-Dade College's film technology program. So yeah, about to graduate next year. So I'm gonna have to give him a shout out. Yeah, check out all those things. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Hulu.
Annyeong. Fighting.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.